Alright, Programming 11, we are back, and we are on the third video of making the Pew Pew game. Last video we made this strange game object class, which I've been referring to as a superclass, and I'll be showing you an example of us extending the superclass to build on top of the superclass, and giving you a bit of an idea how we're going to use this. So again, the superclass, or the game object class, is going to be the foundation for all of our other classes in the game, and it saves us from having to type out things over and over again. We're going to have many, many classes that will all have these variables, so I don't have to type them over and over and over in all the different classes. And they'll also reuse one or more of these constructors, and I'll show you how we can use these parameters, or this parameter, when we actually go to make stuff. Okay, so let's start. I'm going to make the player class. So I'm going to make a new tab, and I'm going to call it the player. And we're going to go ahead and make this class player. Now, how do I connect it to the game object class? Because this is supposed to be our foundation. I want to build on top of it. Here's how you do it. You type in extends game object. And in this keyword, the extends keyword, what we are saying is that we are building on top of the game object. This is our foundation. This is our superclass. This is the superclass for the player class. And the player class will have everything that the game object class has, and we can add stuff on top of it. So, for example, we do not have to put in all that instance variables. We don't say float x, float y, vx, vy. That already is going to be included in our player class. It got it from game object, so I don't have to type the instance variables. I do have to type in some parameters, some constructors though. That's why it's underlined in red right now. I don't have a constructor. So I'm going to make a constructor. And I'm going to make a constructor that's going to make a player object. I'm going to make it show up in the center of the screen, and I'm going to give it some properties. So let's see, I'm going to, first of all, I don't want to just type all that stuff in brand new. I already did that work over in the game object class. I don't want to just reproduce this. I'm going to put this to use. So I think I'll use this one here. So how do I use this constructor in the player class? So because player extends game object, I can use the word super to refer to the superclass's constructor. And I'm going to use this one. I'd like to be able to tell it where to go, how big to be, how many hit points, and what color. So how do I do that? So what I do is I say super, and then I just give it that information in that order. So the first two things are x and y, so I'll put it at the center of the screen, width divided by 2, height divided by 2. For my size, I would like to put it as, I forget what size I had it at before. I'm going to say 20. I've forgotten now what number I had it. That's fine. And for hit points, I'm going to send it maybe, that doesn't really matter right now. I'll just have 1 hit point. I can come back and change it later. And I like to have the yellow color for it. So what's going to happen is that in my player constructor here, I'm going to call the superclass's constructor. I'm choosing the one with these parameters in it, so it knows to select this one. And then it's going to take all these values that get sent across the tab here. It's going to send width divided by 2, and it's going to assign that to this x, which will filter it over to that one. This one's going to be my y, this will be my size, and so on. So you might think, well, that's a lot of work for nothing, but think about, that's true for like if you're just doing one class, but I'm going to do a whole bunch of them. So it's really nice just to be able to set these numbers in place with one line of code instead of having to like do this work over and over and over again for every class that we're going to make down the road. That's just the beginning of its use. Next, I'm going to put in, I would normally put in like a void show here, but guess what? It already has a void show. It gets all of the behavior functions as well. So it gets this function too. So I don't really need to have a void show. It gets it. I could just do the void act as well. So I could just have this working, but there's some other work I need to do. So I can't just ignore the void act. I'm going to just put a comment to say void show is, the word is inherited. I can't spell today, inherited, I'm not sure. I can't spell any day, to be honest. Void show is in the superclass game object. I'll just make a note of that, in case people are like, where is the void show? I am going to override, it's called, the void act. Override. So I'm going to basically make a new act function. If I didn't override it, it would get this one, and it would do these things, and that's cool. But I want to override it because I want to be able to control this with a little bit more. I still want it to do this movement code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say super.act, which basically means it's going to go to the superclass and call its act function first. And then I'm going to go and do all the things that I want to do. So what are those? Well, basically the keyboard movement stuff. So I'll just put that stuff in. If W key is being pressed, then VY is going to be -4. You know, all like if I'm pressing the different keys. A key is -4 for VX. Watch out for these. You're going to mess these up if you go too fast. You're going to make a VX a VY, or you're going to get a +4, a -4. You know, it's tedious work, this little bit. But it's necessary, so just double check it. If your character's not moving properly, this might be the reason. If you're wondering where all these V key and S keys are coming from, I had that in my first video where we set up the interaction stuff. So this will let my character move around. When I let go of the keys, though, I want it to stop. I don't want it to keep moving. So what I'll do is I'll set up a little script or a little line of code to say if I'm not pressing W key, which is up, and I'm not pressing the down key, which is S, then I will set VY to 0. So when I let go of up or down, it'll stop moving up or down. And the same thing with left to right. So if it's not pressing the A key and I'm not pressing the D key, then I'll set VX to 0. So this will let me stop when I run in, when I let go of the keys. Whereas these will let me move when I am pressing the keys. And then I guess I should kind of limit this character to the screen. You don't have to do this, but I'd like to do it. So I'm going to say, hey, if X ever gets less than 0, and you could put in the radius and stuff if you'd like. I'm not going to bother this time. So this is just make sure, typing and talking. Just make sure I don't go off the side of the screen or the top or bottom of the screen. Y is greater than height. I will set Y to height. So these limit my space. I'll just put some comments on here. So respond to key presses. This will be stop if player lets go of keys. And this will be, keep player on screen. So those are the different sections of the code. There's going to be a final one for shooting eventually, and we're going to do like a shoot function. We could put the code right in here, but I'm probably going to break it off. So I'm just going to throw in the void shoot for now, but we'll come back to that. Void shoot. And it will do nothing for now. It'll just be a kind of a dead one, which we'll fill in later. So void show is there. Also notice that this is dead function. The player will also have the is dead function. It just, you don't see it right now. So I'm going to put void show and boolean is dead are in the superclass. So I get both of these functions. Okay, so that is what the player is going to look like. We still need to put it into the game, although I've programmed this, and it's lovely, I suppose. We don't yet have a working player. Like if I run this, nothing really happens yet. So in our next video, we're going to build the engine for this game, which will take in all the game objects and animate them. So we're going to do that in the next one. Okay, so this was extending a game object. very powerful. We're going to do this for all our other classes, and hopefully in our next video we'll put this together. This will kind of be this video 2, 3, and 4, kind of a single video, honestly, and you'll see what happens when the player comes to life. Okay, so I'm going to stop the video now. We'll see you in video 4.